for coming out, and thank you to Fusion for asking me to talk. I know you guys got up a little bit early, so hopefully we'll give you some things that you can take away. Marcus mentioned we've been working with them for about 3.5 years. I've been there for 2.5 years of it. And over that time, we've kind of gone through a big evolution. Started off mainly on the performance side, so it was really heavily driven by sports science, and then we were trying to kind of drag everybody along and get them to go along with it. And now it's kind of done a 180 where I'm trying to keep pace with some of the things that we're doing on the medical side, some of the things that we're doing on even the nutrition and performance side. So I'll share a little bit about that with you. From birds to frogs, so Birds to Frogs is a nod to a paper that Freeman Dyson wrote in 2009, and it's really about your perspective in problem solving. So birds like to take a wide angle approach to problem solving, like to bring in a lot of different disciplines and solve wide-ranging problems. Frogs like to get down and dirty in the mud. They like to see the detail, see things up close. So our challenge in a high-performance environment is we have a lot of frogs, a lot of people who are highly specialized with what they do. We're trying to get those frogs to work more like a flock of birds. So how can you know your specialty, also understand what the other departments are doing, and help integrate everybody together? So Smartabase has been great to help us do that and give us all a connection point. Kind of what I'll do is just tell you a little bit about what our situation looks like, give you some context that way, and then I'm just going to try and give a bunch of examples from all of our different service lines or disciplines. A lot of them are driven by dashboards and things we've built out in the system. Some of them are going to be more of the, okay, we got all this data into a form, we run all of these calculations in Smartabase because that's really what it's good at, and then we may export it and just drop it in more of like an Excel or a Power BI type report. So I'll try and note that as we go along. So real quick, this is my role at the University of Texas, so applying latest in human performance research. You know, kind of my charge is to make information unique, accurate, actionable, and timely. So those are our 4 main goals. And we do that in 3 different ways. We do that through assessment, monitoring, and education. And through those 3 things, we really try and improve the decision making of our coaches and of our trainers to help impact the health and the safety of our student athletes. So this is what it looks like. So we opened our Center for Applied Sports Science about 2 years ago. And so this is located right off of our athletic training room, right next to our weight room. So location has been key for that. But it really kind of gives us a home base of, okay, any assessments that we need to run all come through here. We see probably 500 to 800 athletes a semester. And I'll kind of go through and show you exactly what it is we do with each of our athletes. So just kind of a little bit of background about that and what I do, and then this is kind of what we do on a So that's just really sort of the ultimate expression of what we're trying to get at. Drive those daily decisions, try and help our coaches make some better decisions so that ultimately our student athletes can go out and do what they do and compete at the highest level. So I always like to start, this is our latest. Every semester we go through and do an audit of, okay, exactly how many student athletes came through, what it is that they're doing, where are our contact points, our engagements with them. So anything from the assessment side of things, I'm sure it's a little small for you guys in the back, but from the assessment side of things, so whether we're looking at movement, strength and power, metabolic, vision, anything to wearable monitoring. So some of our sports will wear heart rate monitors, GPS, those sorts of things. Looking at recovery, answering wellness questionnaires, and then the education piece. So how do we then take that data and then feed it back to our coaches and student athletes, doing things like targeted team presentations based on the items that we're collecting. So kind of what you can glean from this is every semester since we opened the Center for Applied Sports Science, we've continued to grow in the percentage of student athletes that we service and the amount of engagement hours spent with student athletes. So again, just trying to grow and expand that footprint within our athletics service lines. And then some on-the-field results. So again, how do we ultimately take all that we're doing and connect that to what goes on the field and actually drive performance? How successful are we at doing that? So this is our performance health and wellness team. All of the growth that we've had in this area really comes from these people. So no matter how good a sports science department you have, no matter how great an AMS system you have, if you don't have people who are engaged, wanting to do better, wanting to learn more, wanting to be connected with the other people around them, all of it's going to be lost. You're never going to get that to translate into true performance. And so really all of the credit goes to these people and their willingness to work together and be a part of a bigger team. So been always doing a little bit of reading, especially during the summer when things are a little bit slower. Range is a good one to pick up if you have a chance, but I think in sport or in elite performance and in sports science in particular, people are always trying to sell like the one device that does everything. It's going to tell you about injury risk. It's going to tell you about, an athlete needs to train X amount today. And really, there is no one tool that's going to tell it all. And that's why an AMS system, in my opinion, is so important. It allows you to integrate several different tools together and really see the bigger picture based on that, not just one device or one thing. And then this concept of lateral thinking. So in performance a lot, we hear about these different performance silos. Nutrition kind of lives here, and then performance, and then you may have some medical and behavioral health. So it's how do we get lateral thinking across those silos? How do we get people from each one of those specific disciplines to really work together and make sure that they have all the information they need and they see it within the context of the athlete as a whole and not just their specific discipline. And again, having a system that connects everybody together is one way that helps us achieve that. Just a little bit about some of the integrations, so more on the performance side of things, different things that we pull into the system. And then again, on the medical side of things, so Marcus mentioned the EMR system and all of the things that we do. That's everything from our doctor's appointments, chiro appointments, all of those things get scheduled to an athlete's full medical history is all in there. And then the different workflows where we can write prescriptions through the system. We have lab values, all of our vital signs, all of those sort of things go through there. So now what I'll do is just kind of take you through some examples through the eyes of each specific discipline. So how does sports performance utilize the system? What are some things that we've done for them? So things like creating profiles of different sports. So what metrics are important in identifying performance in different sports? How does that look when you stack it up against an entire team? So how are athletes performing against their peers? What does that look like all time? So those are more detailed things for our strength coaches. We also like to give them things that they can then feed back to the student athletes. So this is something that we did with our basketball athletes just to illustrate over the summer. Hey, we squat heavy because then you can apply more force to the ground and you can run faster. So we just did some things with recording their 10-meter sprint times, along with recording the weights that they completed in their squat sets immediately previous to doing their 10-meter sprints, and just kind of show them that trend as the squat weight goes up, your sprint time decreases for those 10 meters. So some more practical applications. And then these are more of our performance profiles. So what we typically do is rank all performance metrics based on a standardized percentile rank. So when you come in, we'll let you know where exactly you rank all time for maybe it's all of the volleyball players that we've ever tested, and then we'll break it down by your position as well. So where are you amongst all the hitters that we've ever tested? And then that really gives us a good historical perspective of where are the areas that you're really excelling at already, and what are the areas that we need to work on. And that's huge for our strength coaches, kind of gives them a roadmap of some of the things that they need to do to not only maximize performance, but to help bulletproof our athletes. Some of the daily decision making that gets driven. So this runs off of session RPE and wellness. We just kind of combine the two into one dashboard, and then we flag the dashboard based on how the athletes are responding. So when a strength coach comes in the morning, athletes fill out the wellness questionnaire. It's going to let them know, hey, this group of athletes is ideal. You can really push their training today. We have sufficient, insufficient, and then consult. So if we're down in the consult range, then we want to look at like, okay, how are we going to modify training today? What are the conversations I'm going to have with this athlete about what their stress levels are like? How are they sleeping? What are they doing nutritionally? So again, it's just another engagement, another contact point. From the performance nutrition side, we've done quite a bit. Some of which is integrating, so when they come into our student-athlete dining hall, we can track the swipes, so we know how many times they ate lunch, how many times they ate dinner in a week, and able to pull that into the system from our on-campus server. So that's helpful when our nutritionists sit down for a consult and ask, like, are you eating lunch? Are you eating dinner? They can have that information in front of them and already know the answer. Some other things that we do, so we use kiosks quite a bit as an access point for our student athletes. So it's usually on a tablet they walk in. We might do weigh in and weigh outs this time of year, especially with our outdoor sports, keeping track of fluid loss. We might also do like some nutritional questionnaires about what type of food do you want to see in the fueling station, those sorts of things. All of that gets fed into the forms, and then we can run calculations off those forms. So this one happens to deal with weight in, weight out change for the day, and then USG. We put that into a calculation and come up with their fluid needs to replace before the next session. So things like that make it really quick and easy. Athlete has an access point, and then practitioner has the back end. Calculations are already done. They just have to contact with those athletes and talk about the recommendations. Body composition is obviously a big driver of performance no matter what you do. So we keep pretty close track of that, not only in lean and fat mass, but bone density has become a huge thing. So now we're talking a lot about energy availability in athletes. It used to be a big stressor among female athletes. It used to be called like the female athlete triad. Now it's going more towards an energy availability standpoint because we're seeing it in male athletes as well. How do these different things, how are they impacted if you're not having enough energy available to complete your sport every day? One of the big things that's impacted is your bone density. So all of our athletes get baseline bone density scans as they come in. And then again, we can flag the ones who need repeat scans, typically every 8 months or every year, just to kind of follow up on their progress with bone density, both from an individual standpoint, and then we'll look at it from this is more of a team standpoint report out in the dashboard builder. Some other interesting relationships that you can look at. So one of the things we looked at was sleep versus hydration status. And when you start to look at that, and you typically talk about early morning sports, it gets really interesting. You start to figure out that athletes who are worried about maybe punishment for not being hydrated are up late at night chugging water. They get up throughout the night to pee and drink more water, and then they have to be at the facility early so they can make sure that they pee in the morning before their session starts. And what you find is that sleep is really impacted by early morning hydration testing. So then you have to ask yourself, well, long term, what's more important, that the athlete is absolutely peak hydrated every time they step out there, or that they're getting enough sleep at night to facilitate their recovery process? And so we can do those type of comparisons because we can pull the multiple data sources into one quick and simple graph. So a little bit about the medical side. Again, this is where we're really driving the medical side came on in the last year. So we've had a lot of innovation as far as how our athletes come in, check into the facility from a medical side. This is our pre-participation checklist. So before you start participation in the year, you have to have all of these things checked off. Once they've been reviewed by your athletic trainer and our doctor, then they get checked off green. So it's a really quick snapshot of, okay, is this athlete cleared to participate? Pull up their name at the top, see everything that they have in and everything that's been reviewed by our practitioner. So it's a really easy way, instead of keeping a big long spreadsheet, quick visual, yes, this athlete's all green, cleared, ready to go. That way we don't have any misses in terms of, oh, they don't have their medical history form in, we don't have an emergency contact, anything like that. It's all entered into the system and it's all tracked. Injury surveillance has kind of been the next big wave of what we're doing. So looking at total amount of injuries, total amount of illnesses, and then where those are coming from in terms of time of year, and then how they're occurring. So was it in competition? Was it in strength and conditioning? Where are the athletes getting injured at? And then same thing, so injury by activity, so were you running, jumping, landing, any of those sorts of things, and then your injured body area, so where are the athletes getting hurt? And it allows us to be really detailed about what exactly is happening to our athlete availability, and where are the areas where we're really having issues with. So we can keep track of that over time. Behavioral health. So this is the newest service line for our athletes. They can come in, no questions asked, and see one of 5 behavioral health counselors that we bring in. It's not sport specific at all, so you can come in and talk with them about anything, and it's kept entirely confidential, so your coach doesn't get notified about it, anything like that. So it's a great service that we've added. We try and help them out and connect with them in terms of, okay, if this athlete's already filling out wellness questionnaires, we want you to have that information when you go to sit down and talk with them. So then, again, you have a starting off point, especially if it's an athlete's first time engaging with someone like that. It can be a little bit intimidating. You can be a little bit guarded. So we want to help them facilitate those discussions by, hey, I've been noticing that you're not sleeping great at night. Maybe we can talk about that. What's causing that? I've been noticed that maybe your academic stress has really been high lately. What kind of classes are you in? What's your major? Just give them a jumping off point for some of those discussions, and allow them to really kind of break down those walls a little bit quicker. So we inform behavioral health on that side, and then on the back end, all of those notes are taken in the system. So all of our behavioral health record notes, any nutrition consult notes, again, are all written out in the system. So, and that all becomes part of their medical file. So if the team doctor needs to know about what happened in the nutrition consult, what happened in the behavioral consult, they can go review the practitioner's notes and be up to speed on what's going on at any time. And then sports science. So again, more near and dear to my heart, but some of our long-term monitoring strategies, looking at practices over time and how are our athletes reporting practices, so perceived exertion versus what we're measuring, gives us a pretty good idea of who's over-reporting. Practice is really not that hard. Why are you saying it's terrible today? And then some under-reporting, and trying to figure out where our happy median is in the middle, and helping our coaches really understand the big picture of training. So coaches are really focused on winning the next game and preparing for the next opponent. My job is to, again, try and give them that bird's eye view, that 20,000 foot view of, yeah, okay, we know that we're trying to win this week, but hey, in 2 weeks we have 2 competitions on the road. How does that change what our load looks like next week and then the week following those competitions? So having more of those big picture discussions. 2 more minutes? Yep. And again, some things we've built out as far as the daily dashboard goes. GPS load, looking at some velocities and things like that in different position groups. And then being able to look at, again, some daily reporting dashboards. We have some things set up where if we have target loads for coaches, different programs, hey, this week we want to stay in this target load range as part of our gradually increasing load. We can go ahead and set that up and give them feedback on how they're doing. Hey, today we had a target of 600 and you blew way by that. We were at 850. How does that affect what the rest of our week looks like? So it's not just sort of setting these arbitrary goals. It's giving them benchmarks and then showing them how they're progressing on that. That's really a good way to help motivate coaches. Like they want to do well in everything. So if you give them those benchmarks, you get a little bit more buy-in from them. And then just some vision reporting and stuff that we've been doing as of late with our baseball, softball, volleyball athletes, and really trying to get them engaged in more of like the sensory motor side of things, from training in that standpoint. So questions on anything? I'm going to hang around here for the next couple hours, so I know we're a little bit tight on time. So come grab me in the back, and I'll be happy to answer anything. Thank you all for your time.
Thanks, Joe.